Well, hello there, third graders. I'm Dr. Fraser, and I'm coming to you from the Hudson Bay in Churchill, Canada. It is really cold out here. So you can see I got my big poncho on and my hat covering my ears because it's so cold. I'm out here studying the polar bears. You can see one of my friends there behind me. He's walking across the very little bit of sea ice that the Hudson Bay has right now. What did you say? You're right. There's not much snow or sea ice out there for our friend, the polar bear. I'm studying the effects of climate change on the polar bear up here in Hudson Bay. And I heard that you guys, you third graders, are doing a project on the same thing. So I wanted to drop in and say hello. My friends at Polar Bear International have some really, really good information for you. And I wanted you to join me as we watch this little video about the polar bear and climate change. Will you join me? Will you watch this with me? Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's very informative and I think you'll really enjoy it. Here we go. Polar Bear International is a great place where they study polar bears up in Hudson Bay here in Churchill, Canada.
Future generations of people and polar bears depend on the decisions and plans that we make today.
She's a scientist.
A polar
just like
bear's
me.
life cycle is almost exclusively tied to the sea ice. Because polar bears rely on sea ice to hunt, to breed, and sometimes to den, sea ice loss from climate change is their biggest threat, and the reason the bears are listed as vulnerable on the IUCN's Red List of Threatened Species. What we learn about climate change impacts on polar bears in Hudson Bay can be applied across the Arctic to help conserve other populations. Climate change is already affecting some populations of polar bears. Since we get most of our energy from fossil fuels, we are producing huge amounts of carbon dioxide. You see, regular amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere act like a blanket around the Earth, trapping heat and keeping our planet at a stable temperature. However, when we burn fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas for energy, we pump rampant amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This buildup thickens the blanket, trapping too much heat, disrupting the climate, and melting Arctic sea ice. When Arctic waters are cold enough, the top layer freezes into a special type of ice called sea ice. Sea ice is to the ocean what soil is to a forest. It supports the entire Arctic food chain. Food from this marine ecosystem also sustains northern communities. The key to getting the climate back to functioning the way it should and to preserving a future for polar bears across the Arctic is to move away from using fossil fuels for energy altogether. The most important thing we can do is vote with the climate in mind to let our leaders know we support a swift transition to renewable energy sources. In the meantime, we can directly participate in and learn more about our local and regional renewable energy options. We can all make a difference outside our own households by influencing where our energy comes from, because together we can make sure that polar bears roam the Arctic sea ice for generations to come.
You bet, Allison. Oh, she's great there at the Polar Bear International. Well, thank you for watching that. That was very informative. Now, I heard that you guys had a project to do starting next week. I don't believe you're starting it this week. You're just getting information from your teacher. But I wanted to go ahead and see what you guys are doing because I'm so interested in polar bears and climate change. Looks like you got plight of the polar bear. Plight of the polar bear. That means that there's a problem, right? The polar bears have a problem. Let's see. Your task. Oh, I love this task. Your task is to inform the community about the effects of climate change on the polar bears. Well, it is so important, you guys, to inform the community about climate change and the effects on the polar bear. That is one of the most amazing things you could do for those polar bears. That is so wonderful. Well, you know what I'm going to do, you guys? I'm going to let your teacher explain all about your your project. But I just want to say thank you so much for helping these polar bears. I'm up here at Hudson Bay in Churchill, Canada, studying them, and I hope to get some help. I really do. I hope to get some help, and I hope to see some projects that I can share with my community too. All right, guys. Have a great day, and I will hopefully see you soon. All right. Signing off from Churchill, Canada. Bye bye.